Hello. In this episode, there's a buzz around the student election. Lex is trying to swat away a reporter. Chloe stings Clark, and Lana wants to be the queen bee of coffee. This episode is Drone.
What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Oh, no, my eyes! My eyes!
Somebody save me, that you won't have to break right through. Somebody save me.
Is that enough bee puns for you?
Yeah, I didn't think you'd have enough.
I tried. It took me a minute, but I'm Lou Gonzalez, and with me, as always, is Alan Muir.
Hello, everyone.
This was an episode. This was probably the most fillery of filler episodes we've had this season.
And sadly, Pete had a lot to do in this episode.
Yeah. It's not even kind of, it's a ridiculous episode with several bad CGI moments.
Oh my god, that first bee that they show. So bad.
Oh, what about the face?
Yeah. I was like, that is a late 90s America Online, just CG ad.
So basically, this is like their version. I can't remember what the name of the movie is. There was like a movie that came out around this time. I think it was called Election, with what's her name from Bring It On.
No, you're thinking of Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, her.
She was. I don't think she was in that movie.
Okay, she's in. Maybe there was a couple different like student election movies because I remember her being in one. It's like her, Bill Murray, and then I can't remember the other kid's name. He was the bad guy in Scott Pilgrim, like the last bad guy.
Oh, Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, so they were like the two that were running for student president. Whatever. That's basically so. This is an election. There's three candidates. We have super popular Mean Girls candidate. We have overly involved. What's her name? Rachel or something. I don't know. I was Sasha. That's her name. Sasha's like the forgettable girl in the school that isn't super involved, but she's never like the leader of anything. And Paul, who is
her mother says you're either a leader or a follower.
Yeah. And then Paul, who is, I guess he's supposed to be a nerd, but he's like Asian kid nerd. Like he gets like 3 seconds of camera time, so we really don't know much about him except that he's Asian and he wears glasses. But he's not like one of the popular kids. So basically, we start off, Chloe and Pete are talking about it, and Chloe's trying to interview people, and Pete basically just tells her it's a popularity contest, no one cares about anything, so that's why Felicia, which is the plastic character, is going to win because she's like head cheerleader, and she's head of something else, I think like drama club.
Yeah.
And she's literally your quintessential like mean girl, like literally like, a copy and paste from that movie. Which this is way before that movie, I believe.
Yeah, but it's copy and paste with no depth whatsoever.
Yeah, she's literally just Mean Girl. That's all she is. And then later on that evening, we're in Paul's house. He's printing out some flyers. He's in the bathroom. We get little shots of there's random bees everywhere. For some reason, his toothbrush is in the medicine cabinet. I don't know why, but that like kind of struck me as odd because normally people have like a thing so it stands up because there's like the stuff that like kind of because your toothbrush is wet.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, it was just an odd thing, but it was a way for him to open the cabinet and we could see that there's bees in there. And then
I thought he was going for something to shave with.
Yeah, because that makes more sense having a razor in there, but it was a toothbrush, I believe. I don't know. It really doesn't make a difference. He went for something in the medicine cabinet. We see random bees everywhere, which he does not see. We hear buzzing behind the shower. He opens the curtain. There's nothing there. And then he hears a noise from in the drain, and he decides to look down it. And like any bad horror movie, you do not look where the noise is coming from, and bees fly out of it and attack him.
Well, first he checks his shower because that's where he
heard the noise. Yeah.
Then he goes. You get a shot from inside the drain, and you just see CG bees and one worker bee on his cheek. And the thing is, I was watching The Flash this morning before I watched this episode, I was watching the episode where Iris got Barry's powers.
Oh, from this past season.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is a really good episode. And then I watched this. I kept wanting to go back and watch that episode of The Flash.
Oh, the B episode. That was like season 1, right?
No, no. The episode, one of the bus minutes.
Oh, okay.
For more on that, listen to one of the various episodes of Phantom Zone where the guys talked about that. It's a lot of suffering, from what I hear.
Oh, this past season?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good. All right, so we cut back to the next day. Clark speculates that Paul's chance of the election have been diminished because he's no longer able to campaign. And then they turn the quarter, and Pete has signed up Clark to run for the election. Clark is not happy about it. And basically, Pete's going to make him class president. Clark's planning to remove his name from the ballot. Sasha confronts him. She's kind of annoyed that he is running because this is one of those episodes where they don't even try to hide who the bad guy is.
Yeah, they're just right out and open about it.
So basically, she's annoyed and she's like, crap, I just got rid of one. Now I'm like back to like dealing with 2 people. But that's basically what we see here. It's basically Pete signed up Clark for the thing. He's annoyed, and that's kind of it. We're introduced to Sasha. Next, we see Lex speeding around in his silver Ferrari. He passes a beautiful woman in a red Mustang who is also wearing red. He's going to call his mechanic. And then after a conversation, he guesses she's a journalist and starts the car. And she works for the Metropolis Journal, which is a different paper, because the other guy that we'd already met works for
The Inquisitor.
Because that gets brought up.
Yeah, unlike your horde, The Inquisitor.
Which I was very surprised at that word usage, but again, this is 02.
Yeah.
So her name is Carrie Castle. She wants to do an article on him, insisting that it would be flattering, but Lex refuses.
And insists that Lionel has something to do with it.
Yep. So from here, we go to Clark's house, and he tells his parents that Pete nominated him. He's surprised that the Kents are cool with it because it's the first kind of extracurricular activity he could do where his powers would not have anything to do with it.
Clark, yeah, because he's constantly saying how he wishes he could play football, but his powers would really mess things up.
Yep. Which we do again. Well, we have seen him play football once. We do get more of that, I think, when he goes to college. Let me pause.
Okay.
So yeah, from here, we have Clark go to the Talon. He sees Lana. The place is empty, and basically Lana reveals that the beanery where she worked earlier in the season is trying to tank the business since they are a competition. She also thinks Clark would make a good class president, and she also mentions that Lex has been really absent from the Talon.
Yeah, which will pay off later on in both ways. You know, actually, I really like this storyline, this and the Lex storyline, more than the main plot.
Oh, I have to agree. They're definitely like better because it's a lot about not just Lex dealing with. It's not
one-sided.
Yeah, because it's not just Lex dealing with Lionel. Like her story is also becoming her own person, as opposed to like the side character that she is sometimes, and not just relying on other people to do things for her. So we now go to the Luthor mansion, and Clark brings up the whole situation to Lex. He says like he's not just going to throw money at it. Like that's not what he does. He gives Clark an idea for a campaign slogan, which is the Man of Tomorrow, which is obviously something very famous from the comic books. And we basically leave there and go to school the next day.
What was he also said that he said something about Man of Tomorrow is defined by his final battle or something? Yeah,
I'm trying to look it up. I don't remember specifically. Yeah, because it's a pretty short conversation, but yeah, he kind of brings up the Man of Tomorrow because he's going on about something else.
And I just now remembered that this actually pays off in season 10 in the Luthor episode. Lionel calls Clark the Man of Tomorrow, Clark Luthor.
Okay. So we return to school the next day. Clark's campaign is in full swing. Lana and Pete are supportive, but Chloe isn't impressed because Pete's kind of just pushing the popularity thing, but Clark really doesn't know anything about being the class president or anything that gets involved. So she kind of chides him for that.
Yeah, there's a bit of a small fourth plot, which is Clark and Chloe getting mad at each other.
Yeah, I get it, and it shows how Chloe, once again, I guess compared to when they had the episode where she was like doing that project and interviewing like his parents, where she gets like too report like her integrity, which is funny, like her like internal integrity kind of like
Yes.
overrides her morality or sense of friendship for certain things.
How? Yeah, it constantly gets in the way of things.
Yeah, because she's in love with Clark, but she also is like constantly, whenever she gets a chance to choose like something for him over doing something maybe like for her reporter career, she like always chooses her reporter career thing first, and she's like hyper objective about it. So Clark does ask Pete about this about his speech, and Pete says like that's not my thing. Like I run campaigns, I'm not a good writer. Sasha sees them planning and rips down one of Clark's posters, and then we cut to her home where she pins it up on a board. Her like barn or garage has like campaign headquarters sign over it. Then she turns around and we see that her ceiling is covered in enormous honeycombs, and a swarm of bees swarm her face when she like, and then she starts talking to them, and it is like the worst CGI ever.
What happened to the budget? What happened?
I bet this was actually really expensive at the time. It's not like we don't see like terrible CG stuff now.
No, I mean, Star Trek Discovery, that first episode, or not the first episode, the third episode,
I have not watched Discovery, so
or even Next Gen, which was late 80s, early 90s. That had the CG they did, even though it's considered old by this point in time, as of 2002. They did it right.
yeah. I don't know. I think it was something that was mostly thrown away, especially in the early part of the show, which is why we mostly see like antagonists who are just people, and they use like simple special effects as opposed to these bigger elaborate CGI stuff or big costume work. Most of it's like lighting effects or like lightning or all that kind of stuff, which doesn't look as terrible. Maybe I need to learn the lesson from this episode.
Sure hope so.
All right. So the next day, Clark asks Chloe to put up some posters. Chloe has news of the attack on Paul. She reports that the Center for Environmental Protection, who we've seen, this is like the third time they're mentioned in this season, because there was like they were there when the cow showed up, and they were there during the handshake episode.
Yeah.
So it's like their version of the EPA. It informs them that the bees came from different hives from all over the area. And then when Clark asks to see the latest issue of the Torch, he's shocked because the cover is Chloe endorsing Paul. Chloe explains that she agrees with Paul's stance on the issues. She says it's nothing personal, but Clark is annoyed and kind of leaves.
Yeah.
Again, we kind of already covered this is again Chloe choosing like the paper or like her reporter duties over her friends. All right, so from here, Clark and Pete go to the Talon. Lana offers to help Clark write his speech. Lex arrives. He doesn't offer to bail Lana out, but he encourages her to keep fighting for the Talon and get creative. This is the whole Godfather thing that goes on. Talk about going to the mattresses.
Yeah, and Lana saying that movie should be banned.
I think because she's like talking about it because like
in a joking way.
yeah, because like everybody is making reference to it, like making an offer you couldn't refuse, which gets brought up later on.
Yeah.
All right, so from here we go back to the school. Sasha tries to talk Felice into dropping out of the race. Felice blows her off and gets in her car. You see Principal Kwan, and I think this is his second to last episode, honking at her car. He opens the door, and her head is covered in bees, and she collapses on the floor in the most obvious dummy ever in TV history. I don't know. This scene was hilarious. Like, I'm glad they used actual bees, but it was the funniest thing ever. Like the dummy that fell out was so stiff.
Have you ever seen Death Wish 3? Because they do there's a scene where a guy gets blown up to the point where he sort of does an upside down U,
like with his body.
Yeah, and once they launch it, it just immediately cuts to a dummy. That is worse.
Well, I don't think those movies were known for their good special effects.
However, Death Kiss, now that's gonna be good.
Oh, that's the one with the guy that looks like Bronson,
Yeah, and he even sounds a little bit like him.
as opposed to the remake that they made that everybody forgot even came out
Yeah.
with Bruce Willis, star of the new Movie Pass movie.
Oh wait, what am I doing? I don't even know. I have a movie pass. Suckers.
All right, so the next thing we see is Clark and Pete are still annoyed at Chloe. They're at lunch, but Chloe tells them that Felice is in the hospital and that it's actually worse. And Paul, she's in a coma. Clark and Pete realize it's more than a coincidence. Clark talks about Sasha. He thinks it's Sasha, and I believe this is where it's brought up that she was stung by like a bunch of bees like a couple years ago. Yeah, she was bit when she fell into Schuster's Gorge, and which is the deepest meteor crater in Lowell County. Schuster's Gorge is obviously a hint or a Easter egg because it's the last name of one of the creators of Superman.
Yeah, Joe Schuster.
They theorize how she's controlling them. Sasha asks Clark to drop out of the race. He confronts her about the bees. And then we cut back to the town, and Lana is helping Clark with the speech. They hear something. Clark X-ray visions the
pipes.
Like the air system and sees them. He basically like throws Lana in a closet and then runs into the kitchen and breaks some magical pipe that has freezing material in it. Like, I don't know.
It's liquid hydrogen.
But what is it doing there?
Plot.
Yeah, I was like, where did this like cold pipe come from? Like, what are they? Is that supposed to be like the AC line? Like, but yeah, you're right. It's just like a plot thing. But I was so confused, and it was like a good time. Like they had that like freeze effect on everything, where everything's covered in like white powder.
Whenever something is there that shouldn't be, just remember plot.
Yep. So basically, we leave that there. Clark takes Lana home. She got one sting apparently, and then is amazed that Clark didn't get anything. And they kind of have like a good moment until he leaves because Nell shows up, even though we don't see her. But Lana does admit that like if she was in Chloe's shoes, she would have done the same thing. She was just being objective and kind of tells Clark to like chill out about it. So the next thing we see is Clark goes to Sasha's shed, and Chloe meets him there. I believe, did she say that Lana called her about it?
I believe so.
Yeah, and kind of gives him a like, oh, thanks for the heads up. He admits that he doesn't want to be in a fight with her, and they make up. They theorize that she became like the hive queen, that somehow the bees are probably affected by meteor rocks. They kind of imply all that without saying it, but that if she's defeated in the election, her scent will change and the bees will go after her, and they look up and see all the hives. And then this is kind of where the episode kind of rushes to a close. So Sasha goes to the Kent farm because Clark told her to go there. He confronts her, blah, blah, blah. She sicks her bees on Martha. Clark goes and saves her. And we get a ridiculous random slow motion scene of Martha flipping and falling backwards. That went on for a really long time. Clark grabs her and they go into the storm cellar until the bees go away. He then beats Sasha back to her garage or shed or whatever it was. And then the bees start attacking, and she says that like she didn't call them. And then she begs Clark to save her because she's allergic. He throws a screwdriver at some propane tanks, and boom goes the bees. This was like a totally ridiculous kind of set of circumstances that they kind of really rushed there.
Yeah.
And her like summoning bee face was hilarious. It was just like,
I am very constipated.
Yeah, that's how I was just trying to figure out a way to say like, oh, it looks like she's trying to push one out. It was, I don't know, like the whole sequence was goofy, like Martha being in the field and then running from the bees and like kind of tripping and spinning around. It was like, oh, we have this really awesome slow-mo cam. We should totally figure out a way to use this with Annette O'Toole. And she just like, it was ridiculous.
Also, I thought Jonathan does that type of stuff, that type of work.
Yeah, he's like not in this episode at all, except for that one part in the very beginning. I did pass over one thing here. Somewhere in this is where we get Lex is getting the massage, and then it's not his masseuse, it's the reporter. and she kind of convinces him. But the only part that was interesting is when she goes to hit the recorder, he's like, "I paid for an hour," and then
Yeah.
she puts it down, and it's like, "All right,
She's like, shit,
yeah,
I gotta do this.
all right." So then we cut back to the Talon, and everyone's celebrating except that Paul won and not Clark. Chloe's taking pictures because Paul can't be there. Both Felice and Sasha dropped out, and yet he still, like, even though he was in the hospital, Paul beat Clark. Lex arrives and learns that the reason why everything is hopping is that Lana talked to one of the vendors that the beanery had failed a couple of health inspections, and Chloe had gotten information that it was correct and kind of blew that up in the town paper.
Yeah.
Because she mentions the Smallville Ledger, which is their paper, and Lex congratulates her on being creative and saving the Talon. So then we have our last two parts of this episode, which is Carrie Castle, the reporter, shows up at the mansion, and Lex, I think this is, maybe missed it, this is the fourth meeting. There was like another meeting where basically Lex reveals that it's like a hit piece on him, calling him a paper tiger.
Yeah.
It's a very short meeting, and basically she says that like she wants to do it, and he implies that, oh, she's going to get like a weekly column. In this meeting, though, he's already seen the thing. She says, like, you have nothing to blackmail me on. I'm not going to be bought, blah, blah, blah. And then he basically tells her that there's an opening at the paper for, like, an editor. And if she, like, kills the story, that she can have that. And that now she actually will have something to be buried, to be blackmailed about. She agrees. They shake hands. And then he says, he basically asked her to like be honest and say like, it was my father to put you up to this, so what are you going to tell him? And she says, I got an offer I couldn't refuse.
Yeah, and basically confirming that it was Lionel who tried to do.
Because
I love their one-sided war that they have going on, where it's constantly like total peaceful.
oh, with Lex and Lionel,
Yeah,
because like
where Lex is there, Lionel most of the time isn't, or after starting next season, he's there for most of the time.
yeah, Lex is just doing what he's doing to gain power, which he does gain. He gains like another person at a different newspaper in this episode, and Lionel's trying to like check his power constantly and failing so far this season in each endeavor. So, but yeah, at this point in the season, or even in the series, Lex now has people at two different newspapers in Metropolis. Not the biggest one, but so he has the Journal, and then what was the other one? The Inquisitor.
Yeah.
All right, so that's where that ends, and then we go to Lana finds Clark, and they're in the barn, and she admits that she enjoyed playing dirty to secure the Talon's success. Clark makes a joke about her like Dark Lana or something like that, which we see 50 times in the series.
And it is not good.
No. And then she convinces him to read her his speech. So it's a kind of mate cute in this episode. And that is where we are left. This was not a great episode. I knew it was not going to be good because the opening song, I can't remember what it was, but it was so bad.
I still find it funny that they put in. It's like they're trying to. They didn't think the show was going to get renewed for a second season. They're throwing in so much Superman mythos.
Yeah, like the little liners and stuff.
Yeah, like the True Justice and maybe something else.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of like funny things in here. Apparently, I didn't even catch this, so I was just looking out. The guy Paul's thing. He's actually wearing a Superman suit.
Yeah,
is the flyer.
Which I'm wondering if Jean, Lu, and Yang saw that episode and thought of maybe a Chinese Superman.
I don't know. That's like 20 years time difference, maybe, but not sure. That whole like international superhero thing that they started, maybe it's like the cynic in me. I think that's a lot more money based and trying to sell comics to a country with like 2 billion people in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's really Sasha's character does come back on the show later on.
Really?
Yeah, she is in season 7, but it is portrayed by a different actress.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then basically, like, I don't know, like, I guess my MVP in this is Lex because he's awesome. My LVP is the CGI or the terrible music in this episode.
Did you see what I posted on Facebook about this episode?
Oh, no.
I said putting on Smallville, hoping that for at least one episode, Lex is the MVP. 10 minutes in, fuck it, or not fuck it, fuck. Basically implying that Lex is the MVP.
Yeah, it's just one of those episodes. Like there's not really a whole lot. Like it's really a Lex, Lana, Clark episode. And even though like none of their stories really intersect that much, but like they're the main actor, like they're the main kind of screen time. So I don't know. This was like the most throwaway episode. We got like a cool couple little things, but that was about it. I'm trying to like look up the lyrics to the opening song because it was so bad. It was not Limp Bizkit, but it was kind of in the same vein.
I was expecting to hear "I did it for the Noki."
It's pretty much that's why like I'm trying to remember because I watch with the subtitles on, and the lyrics are so bad. All right. I don't know. There's really nothing more I have to say about this episode. Is there anything specifically you wanted to talk about?
I just really wanted to go back to watch that Flash episode. This episode was that good.
The one where Chloe where what's her name gets his powers? Iris.
Yeah.
All right. This is my last attempt to find the lyrics for the song. Oh, yep, I found it. It is Hot Action Cop by Fever for the Flavor. I'm sorry, Fever for the Flavor. And it was like, do you think I can get some chicky? Maybe gets a little finger sticky. You my electrical lip balm flavor. I gotta do ya until the next song saves ya. Like it opened with like half the actually almost the entire song played in the beginning of this episode. It was so bad.
You need to drop these hot lyrics into the next AD you're on.
Okay, I will. That will be my like intro into the episode. I'm gonna bookmark this page. But yeah, we can talk about the next episode, which is actually a decent one. Oh, there's one thing. The actress that played, what is her name? The reporter in this episode. She looks super familiar. I don't know if you knew who she was or. What's her name? Marguerite Moreau.
Yeah, that name does sound familiar.
And I forgot, like, and the moment I saw her, it was like, she is in something else that I have seen. So we can wait. I will cut out the dead air.
Oh, Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, she's the other goalie. Oh my god, that's awesome.
Mighty Ducks with Hot American Summer, Queen of the Damned.
Definitely was Mighty Ducks that I was thinking of. She's the girl goalie. No, she's not the goalie. She's the girl player. The girl goalie's in the second movie. Yeah, she's the girl on the team in Mighty Ducks. So it was her, the kid from Dawson's Creek, and Foggy.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm like now scrolling through her IMDb. And she was in Shameless.
WB's new Tuesday and all
So
new
she's done some other things
Smallville.
in
Hey, Chloe, can
Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, she's a recurring in What Hot American Summer.
Jealous?
A dangerous outsider.
She's had a career. I'm glad I figured that out.
Now
So our
protecting
next
a
episode,
friend
though,
will come
is
at a
Cross.
price.
Don't be scared. It's just me.
We
One
can
of
listen to the
Smallville's
trailer.
own will perish.
How many innocent people are you willing to kill?
Just one more.
An all-new Smallville.
So this is actually an episode I always remembered because this is a very Chloe-centric episode. And basically it's like a psychic kid. This is also the first time I think we get like a real like telekinetic. But this character, he is played by Adam Brody.
From the best show ever, The OC.
It's where like half the Arrowcast is from.
Yeah.
Well, at least early on. Brody's been like in a bunch of other shows. I'm trying to remember. I think he was on, if it's the guy I'm thinking of.
He was supposed to be in the Justice League movie.
Okay, yeah, he was going to be the Flash.
Yeah, he was going to be Barry Allen.
Because there was like a very early episode of one of Kevin Smith's podcasts that he had him on and talked about it. And it was actually going to be like a very Flash-centric movie where the Flash was going to have like the big scene at the end of it where like, you know, everyone's standing still and he has to go around the entire world. And basically the end of it was going to be him moving so fast that he goes into the Speed Force and they lose him.
Man, they were totally gonna rip off that episode of JLU.
Yes, yeah, they had a lot of good plans in that, and I think they're doing a doc on that. I don't think it's out yet. Like how they did the Death of Superman Lives. I believe they were doing one on the Justice League movie that never happened. But this is an interesting episode.
Well, I'm not. I likely won't watch it because of the recent death of
Wait, for the Justice League movie? Who died?
No, not Justice League. Superman Lives. What happened?
Oh, okay, yeah. No, you should watch it. It's an amazing documentary. And
No,
it was
I've
his.
seen it. I've seen it a number of times, but it's
Oh,
just,
okay, you're not going to watch it again. Okay, I get what you mean. It is really good. So if you haven't seen it, you should go out there and see it because it just shows the ridiculousness both of like the movie industry and of like
John
comic movies
Peters,
and John Peter, yeah, especially
where
giant
he,
spiders.
where he drops the F bomb, not
Yes.
not that F bomb, the F bomb that is reviled.
Yeah, the derogatory term for homosexuals in reference to, I think it's the cape, right?
Superman's costume.
Yeah, is he talking about? Well, I think he specifically says it about the cape,
No, it's
the entire costume.
yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was like either the underwear, the cape, or the whole thing. But I don't know. I guess that is it. Did you want to do plugs?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the Alamir. I don't know how much longer that I'm gonna have that Twitter account as the mass exodus has started on Twitter due to people being just complete assholes.
Yeah, Twitter's a terrible bad place.
You can follow me on Instagram at comicsboy. Don't forget to join the Phantom Zone Facebook page or the Facebook group. Listen to the Phantom Zone podcast, or the Phantom Zone network, which we are a part of. And keep your eyes peeled towards the Los Haro podcast network, which Lou and I may have something coming out soon.
Oh, okay, cool. And I'm Lou A. Gonzalez on Instagram. Twitter can go fuck itself. I'm also in the Phantom Zone group. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. And check out the other Phantom Zone episodes like After Dark. We should be coming up soon on the beginning of the CW shows, as well as Iron Fist Season 2. I don't think there's any movies coming out soon that are kind of in our zone. If you haven't checked it out, there's also the Incredibles review, and that should be coming out soon if it hasn't. And check out.
It's coming out. It's going to come out at some point.
Yeah.
It will happen. We just don't know when.
Yep. And don't forget to check out Los Horror blog. Hopefully I have a second thing I wrote at some point. And yeah, new projects. There's multiple new podcasts and stuff in the works, so stay tuned. And we'll catch you guys at the next episode. I'm Lou Gonzalez.
I'm Alan Muir, and this podcast is for truth, justice, and the American way.